Hello, everybody, and welcome to Guildmaster Gaming. This time around, we are talking with Joshua Matthews. He's the writer-director of It Draws Closer. This is a micro short, and it's been nominated for Best Micro Short at the upcoming film festival at FilmQuest. So, Joshua, please tell us about yourself and your film.
Yes, thank you very much for having me today. I I've I appreciate the time you're taking to talk to all of us. It Draws Closer is, like you said, a very short, it's micro short is what they're calling it. 4.5 minutes with credits, so it's really in and out. It is a film about a young woman who sketches before she goes to bed, and she soon realizes that the creature she just sketched in her notepad is living under her bed right now. So it's the whole film is just her dealing with that.
Okay, so we kind of given the entire plot of the film,
Yep.
except for how it ends. So we'll leave it at that for people to
Yes.
kind of figure out. So I'm going to ask a few things. What was your inspiration for It Draws Closer? Closer, a little.
The film came about. I like a lot of people. I read before I go to bed, and it was probably around 1, 2 a.m. I forgot what I was reading, but most likely some horror book. And as I put it down on my side table and reached over to turn my lamp off, I got the feeling something was under my bed. And just like that, I was like five again. Like it just, it's the same feeling you get when you watch a really scary movie and you turn off all the lights and you have to run and through the hallway to go to your bedroom. I just felt like that primer fear I haven't felt in a long time happened. So it just made me realize if this scared me as a 40-plus-year-old man, like it's gotta work, right? Like it's something under your bed, like that's something you're scared of as a child and most likely something that you carry on. Um, and I think it works. But that's the inspiration. I mean, immediately I grabbed my laptop. So instead of going to bed, I just grabbed the laptop and wrote out a first draft that night. I had to just to go to bed. Um, and then I worked on that over the course of a couple of weeks and months and really fine tuned it. But yeah, that initial spark of inspiration, just the whole film was there, and it was that doesn't usually happen.
Yep. So I'm kind of known for writing what they call micro short and writing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's a short,
Uh, Flash writing.
yeah, flash
Yeah,
fiction.
flash.
It's 1,000 words or less in a short story.
Mm.
So to kind of give people any type of idea of what that means you are doing your entire story on one standard size page of a magazine.
Mm.
So,
Yeah,
um,
that's tough, right? I always find it tougher to write those the shorter you get.
and that's what I was going to ask. We use that as a writing exercise for people because it means that you have to make sure everything's doing double, triple duty and everything's right on point. Did you
Mhm.
have that type of issue coming up with basically a 4-minute script?
It was yes. I mean, it came out pretty fast, at least the initial like scare. I think the beginning and the end, like the bed thing, because that's what immediately I grasped. And then the very end shot is um, without giving any spoilers, right? That the very end shot is the second image that came to mind. But this was a two-page script, so it's 4.5 minutes, but it was only 2 pages, if that. I probably tweaked this until the night before we shot because I just kept finding little scares I wanted to put in there, but not go so far that it outstays its welcome. I think I have three, maybe four scares in this a little bit, so it was tough to kind of ride that line of is it scary enough? Is it too boring? Like, is it going to outstay its welcome? And that was what was the push and pull of that script was, and that was the toughest part, probably of the whole process. Because filming it was a dream, which never happens. But the writing part is just, um, is this going to work? Is this scary? Is it too much? Are people going to be sick of it or not? And I don't know. I think it reacts. I think it works well. I had one person tell me it's like I love your short, but if it had one more second on it, I'd be bored. Like it was that close. I think is success of failure in this kind of film.
Yeah. Micros and Flash are a very unique style. that
Mhm.
everybody has kind of deal with. So you chose to do in horror. Is horror something you're naturally drawn to?
It was the first genre I fell in love with. I probably everybody you've ever interviewed for horror has said like I watched these horror movies at a young age, probably too young to be watching them, but thank God it happened that way. But yeah, so horror has always kind of been in my blood. Ironically, is probably my first true horror film ever that I've directed. I made weird dramas and weird art school stuff, and I made a Western that I really loved, but I thought I'd be this arty kind of filmmaker, and I was too scared to make a horror film because I loved the genre so much. Um, that I was just doing other things I liked to challenge myself. But I was really worried about messing up a horror film. Looking back now, that it's idiotic. There's so many good horror films that cross like subgenres that your taste will vary. But no matter what you like, there's a horror film for you. I should have just started off with that. I'd probably be in a better place how I did. But
So now,
but yeah, I mean, horror was always it, and horror is going to be it going forward. It's my you know my love of film. It came from there, and that's probably what I'll do until I can't do this anymore.
okay. So now, as we were kind of talking briefly before and kind of seeing things, you actually have two films coming up in Film Quest.
I do. So it draws closer is the one I wrote and direct, and then we have a film called To Hell with You that the same cast and crew worked on as well. I am a co-producer in that film and the first AD on that film. So we actually filmed those two shorts the same weekend in the same location.
Oh,
It's the same bedroom, actually, um, which I probably should have waited for that for a Q&A with all of us, see if anybody could tell it's the same bedroom. But we shot It Draws Closer on a Friday, and that Friday night, we took everything out that was modern and redecorated the entire room to look like the 70s. And then we did a rehearsal with the cast and crew on Saturday, and on Sunday we started filming It the Hell with You, written and directed by Jason Sheedy, who has been at Film Quest with a few other films, so the Mages of Rage and Checkpoint, I believe another one, but yes, that was our idea, was to go into just have a fun summer camp. I guess it's spring break, but spring break summer camp type thing with all of our friends and just make shorts. And it was a long weekend full of no sleep and bad food and good fun.
so just so people know, we've also done an interview with Sheedy, and it's already up on YouTube. So if you want to check it out, look through the log there, and you'll find it. So we've talked about kind of this. Now, is there more to this story that you want to pursue? Or are you kind of seeing It Draws Closer is a done deal?
Uh, it Draws Closer was going to be a one and done story, and it still might be, but it's more that I haven't made a narrative film in like 12 years. Since my thesis film, I just got into documentaries. So It Draws Closer was kind of a test for me. Do I still like doing films? Can I still do films? Is this something I want to continue doing, or am I just going to stick to documentaries or marketing videos that I do on the side, or I mean, professionally? Um, and it was a blast. I had a great time. So I will continue making films. But as far as It Draws Closer goes, it's done pretty well in the festival circuit. It played at Fright Fest in the UK and Popcorn Frights here, and we just did a weekend at Nightmares Film Festival and VHS in Vancouver. But because of some of the festivals we play at, we got a good response from a couple of companies that were kind of interested in the idea. So none of that is a positive, but it did make, I mean, everything, all that's a positive. None of that's a sure thing. As we all know, like things aren't 100% sure until they're, in the theater playing in front of you. But
Yeah.
is it was a nice response that made me think that maybe there's something here that I originally didn't see. So I have been working on a treatment and a feature film version of it, and that was not something I thought this film would be, but digging into the core of who this character is and why she draws in the first place, and why this thing is haunting her specifically, like finding that story has been really fun. So whether or not it ever gets made or sees the light of day, that was a fun exercise to kind of develop this character more. Something I probably should have done before going into production, so I would have more of a character backstory for my actress, Erin.
No, I understand that because, as a writer, you do what you need to get the story out.
Mhm.
And when you get, then like you're saying, in this situation, you got more of a story being presented to you. So it's like, ooh, now I need more to make the story. So
Yeah.
it makes total sense. So, you know, what would you say is your draw towards horror? Why?
Um, I don't know. I just feel something watching horror. Then I like being scared. I like to have that emotion. It's very cathartic to just feel something like that and then laugh about it afterwards. Um, I like that you can do anything with horror. It can be a horror drama. It can be a horror suspense thriller. It can be a horror comedy. It can be gross out, whatever horror. Like it can be every other film genre and still be horror. And I think there's something fascinating about that I can play in so many different sandboxes, and still play and still be in this genre that I love so much. Because I love film. I like classic films. I like noir. I like westerns a lot. I like comedies, but I can do all of that in horror and still follow that love of the first genre that I fell in love with. I don't know. There's not a better genre of film in my opinion. I mean, I got all these VHS tapes behind me, like just all horror. Like it's just fun stuff.
Okay. So, and one of the things I've dealt with in writers we talk about is every good story has an element of horror in it because of that element of dread.
Mhm.
Uh, but at the same point, every good story has an element of romance too. So, and like they say, comedy and horror also very similar. So in the way
Mhm.
they structure in the beats. But for this film, it like you said, because it is a micro, it doesn't need to do all that. Now whereabouts are you on your festival run? You mentioned a couple. I mean, are you in the start of it? Are you moved along or
I think we're probably about we're about 3 months into it. This will be our last one for 2024 Film Quest. Playing on Halloween night, which is a good way to kind of end the year for me. And then the rest of our notifications will start coming out in, I think, December, January. So this is our fall winter run, and then I'm hoping that we have a really good spring run into next fall. I like to keep a film in the festival for about a year if possible. I think that's a good life for a film, and hopefully by then we'll have others and just keep the train rolling. So I think we're probably midway through.
okay? Has anybody shown any interest in picking it up for distribution?
Again, I had a couple companies reach out, but I had one that really kind of followed up afterwards and asked if it or other films similar to it are ready to be put in development. So there has been interest in it, but nothing solid yet. It's something that I'm hoping for. I think it'd be a really fun. It's probably the most commercial thing I've ever wrote and directed. For it to be so small, I think it was kind of it's catchy. It's kind of like the lights out kind of film, right? Just a quick, good concept that you could see being something scarier. So I think that was a good chance for a potential feature, but we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So we kind of talked about where its run's going and everything, but let's get back now with you. So Joshua, you've gotten into film. We've kind of talked you're drawn to horror, but what was your draw to become a filmmaker?
Mm. That was probably watching Hitchcock as a kid. My mom knew I loved horror because my dad showed me everything that he probably shouldn't have shown me. And she was like, well, I want you to watch Hitchcock. Like, if you like this, watch Psycho. And then I love Psycho. And then she's like, okay, now watch Vertigo and North by Northwest. And she just laid it and wrote, and she just laid them all out to me. And like, there is an art to this. Like watching Hitchcock, I was like, I realized there was an art. And Hitchcock himself is a character in all of his films and just a personality unlike any other director. So that made me realize that you could do this as a living. These things don't just exist, like somebody is making them. And I just wanted to be Hitchcock. Still do. He's just still the best. Like he's such a great director. So yeah, that made me realize that there are people who make this for a living and there is an art behind it. And there's a reason I like his films over other films. And then what else is there out there that I'm missing? And um, then DVDs came out, it wasn't just VHS tapes. So then I had behind the scenes features and I could just watch everything and listen to the commentaries and just kind of learn from that. And it just got in me and everything growing up. I kept saying, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to be a filmmaker. I'm from South Alabama. And everybody was like, no, you need a real job. Like you need to go work at this factory down the street or be a teacher or anything like that. And I fell for it. And I went to my undergrad and got an English degree, and I was going to be a teacher. And probably this semester before I decided, no, I want to do film. I want to try film. And one of the actors in both It Draws Closer and To Hell with You, it's a good friend of mine, Brett Brooks, back in Alabama as well. And he's like, I just got accepted in a school called SCAD. He's an illustrator. He did all the sketches in It Draws Closer. And he's an actor. And he's like, they're making these great films out there. You should come visit it. And I did and fell in love with it and applied and got accepted. And that was it. Like finally, like just getting into film school was like, that was enough at that moment, like I'm living the dream. Then you graduate and you're like, okay, now what? Now I got to pay some bills. So then
So
you do
kind of
something.
going along that way, in the earlier conversation I had, there was talk that you guys are pulling together and creating a production company and
Yes,
kind of
sir.
got some projects in line that you're kind of doing that. Can you tell us a little bit about the company and your projects?
I can. Yes, we are. I'm not sure if Jason told you the name or anything. I don't know if he wanted to spoil it, but I might spoil it.
He told the name of the company.
Okay. So EBGB's Pictures, we are hoping to launch at the end of October, if everything goes goes well. It's between me and Jason Sheedy and Kyle Steinecke. We are all met in Savannah College of Art and Design, or SCAD, about a little over a decade ago. We didn't really work a lot together down there, but we stayed in touch and we started writing more and working more together in the past 5 or so years. Just kind of reconnected. Never give up the dream, but we just kind of reconnected. And Jason started writing and directing more stuff, and I started getting jealous and started emailing him, hey, can I just ride your coattails? And he's like, sure, come on board. So we did this fun summer camp weekend of It Draws Closer and To Hell with You, and it worked out. Like we kind of liked working with each other in that way. So we just thought it's like, what's next? Like what can we do next to keep this going and not lose momentum? And it was like, well, we just keep making films and we'll keep making the shorts and see what happens there. But we also need to start thinking of and developing feature ideas, because no one's gonna no one's gonna just walk up to your door, knock on it, and hand you a bag of money. Let's just do it ourselves. Let's not wait and ask for permission to do it. Let's just do it. So the more we talked about that, and the more we talked about just wanting to continue this path, we decided that it would just make sense for us to form a company, brand all of our content, continue working with each other, and then long term work with other filmmakers as well. Like how can we develop other filmmaker scripts and produce projects that maybe not coming out of our portfolio. Yeah, long way of saying that we just wanted to continue making movies with each other and see where it goes. But we began shooting the project about a month ago together. We co-directed something together to see if that was something that we're interested in. We need to continue that one. Hopefully that will be finished filming at the end of the year, maybe early next year. And then we have a couple more scripts that we're hoping to start producing in March. And then we're talking feature stuff for end of next year, maybe 2026.
Okay. So it sounds like for Heebie Jeebies, you've got a nice role. It's just a matter of keeping it going.
Just trying to keep that motivation going. We don't want to slow down. We don't want to lose steam.
So you got this new company here. You mentioned you got a day job, which, we, as artistic talents understand, what do you do to finance what you do? Uh, but in your downtime, when you're trying to break away and kind of relax, what is it that Joshua likes to do?
Oh man, what's relaxing mean? Um, I hang out with my wife a lot. Like that's my downtime. Anytime that as soon as we get off this phone call, I'm gonna go there and just watch TV with her and veg out for a bit. We like to read, so we'll just take some books to a bar and just and read books together. We like to travel and go on some trips. But day to day, it's just watching some TV with Caitlin, reading a book. It's hard to find that time because I'm so motivated in the film now side now that it's downtime is still not downtime. Like as a writer, I'm sure you know, like I'll be in there watching a TV show with her, but in my head, I'm like, but what if I did this? And what if I did that? And what if, so it never really stops, but yeah,
The voices are never quiet.
they're not. And I don't want them to be like, it was too quiet for too long. And now that they're talking again, I just keep feeding that inspiration, just keep reading books and watching movies and trying to be inspired.
Okay, so let's kind of throw it a little bit different way. We kind of heard about your story and that where you're going, where you've been. But if someone came to you and said, "Hey, I want to be a filmmaker," what advice would you give them?
Do it. Just do it. I mean, at this time, that's I'm sure that's advice that everybody gives, but honestly, it's the most truthful thing you can do. When I went to film school, I didn't have a lot of opportunities that you have now. You can shoot something on your iPhone. You can buy a cheap camera from a pawn shop and use it. You can write on Word. You can write on your cell phone. You don't need the fancy software and gear. But but doing it just allows you to understand that you can do better the next time, and the next time is going to be even better. And you just kind of learn based on that. Do you need film school? No. Did it help me? Yes. It gave me an opportunity to work with gear I've never got to touch before and meet people I would never have met that I mean, I'm starting a company with people I've had at film school. But do you need it? No, you don't need it. You just need to have that drive. And if you really want to be a filmmaker, you go out there and do it. And then you're a filmmaker, like you are. If you're making movies, you're now a filmmaker.
All right. So if people want to follow you and kind of keep track of what work's going on, uh, where's the best places they can find you out on the web?
I'm just on Instagram, at Josh D Matt, JoshDMatt. Heebie Jeebies will be on Instagram and Facebook and probably other social media platforms I don't even know exist yet. But you will be able to find that fairly soon. I think we will launch in a couple of weeks, 1 week if I'm lucky, and then you'll be able to. If you're following me, you'll be following it. It will be announced.
Okay. So any final call outs, thank yous, anything you'd like to say to, practice your Oscar speech?
I would like to thank Jason and Kyle for going on this crazy ride with Heebie-Jeebies. I think that's going to be really fun. As far as others, like Erin Ownby, the star of It Draws Closer, absolutely could not have done this film without her. She is also one of the leads in To Hell With You, also playing at Film Quest.
Yeah, she plays the angel, if I remember correctly.
It's the Angel, and a great performance it is. Brett Brooks, he's in my short for 10 seconds, and I put him through hell in the makeup chair for 9 hours to get ready for that 10 seconds. So I guess I should thank him too. Also, a lead in To Hell With You, playing the devil. So please go watch those two films. And then I thank you for taking time to talk to us.
All right. Well, we like to tell everybody, please get out to the film festivals and support the indie makers, and not just in film, but also in books and art of all sorts. India's got a whole different pulse to it that once you get into it, I think you'll find there's a lot of great stuff. And these are the type of films that are so much fun to watch on a big screen because they have a different impact. With how they play out versus seeing them on your monitor or in a small television. So please get out there and do that. Now you're going to be at Film Quest, you said.
I
Um,
will. Film Quest from October 30th through the 3rd.
so kind of got the end of the festival coming through with the final as it kind of builds to the climax of all the awards. So wish you luck on your nomination.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and everybody out there. If you like what we're doing here, please like it, share it. If you want to subscribe, help us kind of get more of the independent people in here so we can talk to them, find out what's going on in the world. And thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
And we'll talk to you all soon.